Hey guys, welcome back. In this video we will be working on painting the trapezoid pieces and the rectangle pieces that go around the equator. The real prop has looks like it was brushed on with kind of a medium gray, and then it's cracked and peeled, and there's fingerprints and smudges, and the paint's worn away. So we're going to try to replicate that as close as possible. Another thing that you might notice is that the trapezoid pieces are darker in color than the rectangle pieces. So we're going to try to duplicate that as well by just adding a little bit less paint. The absolute quickest way and with the best results that I've come up with so far is actually just to use this Molotow Cool Gray 2mm paint pen that was listed in the parts and materials list in the first video. So we're going to get right into it. Make sure that when you open this, or before you open this, shake it very well. You'll notice here there's a little window here that shows you your paint level, and it'll be white and dark mixed. You got to mix it really well. So shake it for a good couple of minutes before you ever open this up and use it. What I typically like to do is get a shop towel and wrap it around my finger so that I can kind of keep a finger pad ready to go. That just makes it a lot easier to touch only the spot that you want. So what we're going to do is, I've already got my pen shaken up, and I'm going to come up to the trapezoid. I've already got my shop towel ready to go, and I'm going to go a couple of dots, or just a couple of circles, and then I'm going to immediately start wiping it and smudging it, wiping it, just like that. And then I'm going to kind of lightly dab the gun port area. Okay, do the same thing with the next one. Circle, 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 circle. Come back lightly. I'm barely touching this. You don't want to push. You don't want to wipe anything off. You just want to spread it around to the corners and the edges. You also want to make sure that you're not going to accidentally touch the white part. But you know what? If you do, it's okay. Bob Ross. We're going to clean that up in a little bit. Okay? I'm going to continue on, and then as soon as I get done, I'm going to do another round of smoothing with my shop towel, and you'll see what happens. You'll see what I'm talking about. It'll darken the gray even more than it already is. And if you miss a couple of corners, that's okay. The real one has some with the corners missing, some of the edges missing. All right, now watch. I'm gonna go to my first one that I did, and I'm gonna just rub it again. You see the difference in the one on the left? See how it darkens it up? See? All right, do the same thing. These other ones, you're just kind of smoothing it out, getting rid of any excess paint, and it also kind of adds a little bit of extra texture. Okay, that's it. We're going to do the exact same thing for the underside. Here we go. All right, so the next thing we're going to do is a very similar technique on the rectangles, but as I said before, the rectangles are a much lighter color, lighter gray than the trapezoid. It's not a lighter color in terms of shade, it's just a lighter in terms of the quantity of paint. For the rectangles, I kind of just draw a line or a V shape or something just to kind of get just enough paint on the rectangle. I don't want to color it all in, so I kind of just do something like that, and then quickly just do circles and kind of blend it and smooth it. Okay, if it's a little dark, that's okay. We're going to lighten it up on the next step. If you get some where it's not covering good corners, it's totally fine. We're just trying to get a little bit of a base coverage. The next thing you're going to need is a couple of cotton swabs and some rubbing alcohol. Just take some rubbing alcohol and soak the tip, kind of just put it in the tip and let it, you can kind of see the alcohol soaking up until it wants to drip. Shake it off a little bit. You want it fairly loaded. You don't want it dripping, but you don't want it dry either. And then what I like to do is pick a trapezoid here, and I kind of just start dabbing, and it takes away a little bit of the paint. And that's kind of what you're looking for. You want kind of a random pattern of paint missing, paint darker, you know, a bare spot here. If you see a cool little shape or scratch looking area that you want to keep, leave it alone. That's kind of what you're looking for. You just kind of want to randomly go through and start knocking off some of the paint. There's a couple of pieces, if you want to study some of the reference materials, that have hardly any paint on it, so you can do some more heavily than others. Some of them have the whole side of it is bare like that, so you can kind of wipe down the side. But I typically kind of just like to pat and dab and maybe twist a little bit with the Q-tip. If you've got a really bald spot that you don't like, you can kind of bring some of that paint from another area down onto it. If you've got a cool little shape or something that you want to leave, just don't touch it. Come up around it. Add some areas here. You kind of want to just not really care about it. Just kind of all you're trying to do is add some character to where it got banged up. And then kind of just go over it again and take a look. If there's any of them that you don't like, it looks too patterned, you kind of want to randomize it a little bit more. You got one of them that's way darker than the others and it stands out. Whatever. Bob Ross. Cool. Do the same thing for the bottom side. When you're doing this, you want to be careful, kind of get in the habit of holding the remote by the holes with the red rings on them. That way you're not touching anything. After you do this, the paint's still kind of wet, so if you flip it over and you grab it with your hand, now you've got paint on your hand and you touch it here, you're going to be making spots. So just kind of be cognizant of where you're handling it. All right, here we go. Going back over these gun ports for any of them that have a little too much paint on them or it's a little too heavy. Come back and even it up a little bit. I just want just a tiny bit of clouding and dirt looking there. Okay, now we're going to do the exact same thing to the rectangles, but we're going to lighten them even more so that they're barely covered. If you want to add a little bit more alcohol to your dirty cotton swab, that's fine. If you want to get a new one, that's fine. What I like to do here is shake off any excess alcohol, and then I'm just going to start very lightly. I'm barely touching it, doing a little bit of swirls. I'm just kind of swirling the paint around to kind of lighten it and even it up. And you really just kind of want, if you want to dab it back on a little bit and then swirl it back off, you kind of want just a random splotchy very light gray. Okay, now as we come back and make another pass, you'll see that it starts to even it out even more. Okay. So any spots that you feel has still got too much texture on it, just kind of buff them out with the same end of the cotton swab that you've been using this whole time. You don't want to switch to a new one because it's going to have too much alcohol on it and it's going to take away too much. So you're kind of allowing the fact that this is drying to help you or to work in your favor, because it works less and less as it goes by. So it takes off less paint. And if you start dragging it across, you'll start seeing these tiny little darker gray flecks in it, and that is exactly what the real one has in it too. So just buffing out any of the streaks or any of the patterns, try to even it out a little bit. Okay, looks good. That's what we want. All right, one more little thing that we're gonna do here before we clean this up is, if you want, there's one little thing that I kind of like to do on these guys, and I will take a new tip with alcohol on it. There's one little signature area on this rectangles that has kind of a paint drip or a swoop that I like to recreate. So it's just kind of a little signature spot. So we're gonna find, if you'll remember how we oriented these tank tracks earlier, this is the first one that we did. So it's got 4 prongs on the left here on the tank track, and the large wheel, the dots are clocked to 2 and 8. This is what you want to do. So find this guy, and we're going to do the rectangle that's directly below and to the right of him. This guy here, down and to the right. This guy right here has a swoop in it. If we're going to start from the top left hand corner and just kind of drag it down, and we're going to make kind of a clean spot that doesn't have so much paint on it, almost like a smiley face, just like that. Okay, that's the start of what we're going to do later to mimic that paint drip. That's if you want to do it. Okay, so now that we've got this done, we're going to take a clean Q-tip and some alcohol. We're going to soak it again until it's almost ready to drip. Shake it off and carefully look around, find any places that you may have made a mess or slipped, like this guy here, and we're going to just wipe them right off. It's acrylic paint on top of enamel. We'll wipe right off. So this I would consider done and ready to move on to the next step. All right. Thanks guys. We'll talk to you in a bit.